What if humanity is not the culmination of Earth's evolutionary journey, but an invasive whisper from a silent cosmos? What if our consciousness, the very spark that allows us to question our own existence, is not a native flame, but a foreign fire, a seed of thought that found fertile ground in the soil of a world that was never meant for it? This is not a story of grand starships or overt conquest, but of a subtle, biological intrusion that happened so long ago its origins have been lost to the fog of deep time. It is the story of a ghost that slipped into the machine of terrestrial life, rewriting its destiny from within, leaving the planet haunted by a success it can neither explain nor escape. We are the anomaly, a beautiful, terrifying puzzle living inside a biological form that belongs to this world, yet driven by a mind that seems to yearn for another. This deep sense of displacement, of being both a part of this world and strangely separate from it, is a mystery that touches us all. If you enjoy following these quiet whispers of history and exploring the questions that lie just beyond the edge of our understanding, consider subscribing to our channel to continue this journey with us. The story of humanity might be far stranger than we have ever allowed ourselves to imagine. It is a narrative written not in stone or bone, but in the very code of our minds, a code that may have originated in the cold, silent darkness between the stars. We look to the heavens for answers, but perhaps the greatest alien mystery has been looking back at us from the mirror all along, a silent passenger on a journey it initiated millennia ago. To understand the shift, we must first travel back before us. Imagine the Earth 200,000 years ago, in the heart of the late Pleistocene. This is a world breathing in slow glacial rhythms, a planet of immense and quiet power. Vast ice sheets groan across the northern continents, their movements carving mountains and shaping landscapes on a scale we can barely comprehend. The air is crystalline and sharp, carrying the scent of ancient pine and frozen earth. This is a kingdom of megafauna, a world of living mountains. Herds of woolly mammoths traverse the tundra plains, their colossal forms silhouetted against the low sun. Saber-toothed cats, masters of the long shadows, hunt in primeval forests, and great cave bears slumber in the planet's deep, silent hollows. It is a world in brutal, perfect balance. Life in this era operates on a timescale measured not in years, but in millennia. The planet's consciousness, if it could be called that, is deep, slow, and instinctual. It exists in the migrations of beasts, the turning of the seasons, and the silent language of the forest. And within this world live other hominids, like the Neanderthals. They are not conquerors. They are a part of the ecosystem, as natural as the river that carves the canyon, or the wolf that joins the pack. Their minds are powerful tools, honed for survival, yet fundamentally woven into the fabric of their environment. They understand the patterns of the hunt, the sacredness of their world, and their place within it. They are a species in profound, unthinking harmony with their home, a testament to terrestrial evolution's patient, deliberate artistry. There is no great project of dominion, no art for art's sake, no monuments built to challenge time itself. There is no existential dread, no burning need to ask why. The Neanderthals and their kin exist in a state of being, not of becoming. Their intelligence is a reflection of the world around them, practical, immediate, and deeply connected to the earth beneath their feet. The planet is a closed system, a masterpiece of biological engineering evolving at its own geological pace. It is a world of deep, resonant silence, a silence not born of emptiness, but of a complete and total belonging. Before the catalyst, before the change, the Earth was a world that knew itself, a world that was whole. It was a home, not a frontier to be conquered or a mystery to be solved. It simply was. Then the enigma begins. It arrives not with a flash of light or the roar of an engine, but with the quiet subtlety of a bloom, a silent and inexplicable flowering. Across disparate parts of the globe, in a sun-drenched valley in what would become Ethiopia, on a wind-swept coast in South Africa, and near a fertile river delta in the Levant, a new kind of hominid appears. They are Homo sapiens. Physically, they are less robust than their Neanderthal peasants, more gracile, more vulnerable, but they possess something radically, terrifyingly new. It is a ghost in their genome, a cognitive catalyst that ignites a different kind of mind. This is not just a larger brain, it is a fundamental rewiring of consciousness, an awakening into a world of symbols, stories, and relentless, burning curiosity. This sudden awakening,
this explosion of creativity and abstract thought, is the quiet, maddening secret at the heart of paleoanthropology. For millions of years, the story of hominid evolution was one of slow, incremental changes, a slightly larger brain case here, a more refined stone tool there. It was a story written in the patient language of geology and natural selection. Then, in a geological instant, the narrative shatters. We see the emergence of sophisticated art, complex burials, intricate tools, and long-distance trade.
This great leap forward, as it is sometimes called, is less a leap and more of a quantum jump. It's as if a new kind of software was suddenly installed in the human mind, and science, for all its power, struggles to explain the origin of the code. The prevailing scientific narrative is the out-of-Africa theory. It tells a story of migration, a compelling chronicle of how a small population of anatomically modern humans, equipped with this superior cognitive toolkit, expanded from their African homeland to populate the entire globe. This model is supported by a wealth of genetic and archaeological evidence, and it beautifully explains the how of our global expansion. But it remains profoundly silent on the more fundamental question of why. It describes the spread of the fire, but not the nature of the initial spark. The theory provides a map of the journey, but it offers no explanation for what compelled our ancestors to suddenly look up from the earth at their feet and begin to chart the stars. Genetics offers us a closer look, a glimpse into the very machinery of this change. Scientists can isolate specific genes, like FOXP2, that are crucial for the development of speech and language, the very bedrock of symbolic thought. Yet the picture they reveal is one of staggering complexity, not simple causality. There is no single consciousness gene. Instead, our unique abilities appear to be the result of a vast and intricate network of genetic expressions, a cluster of mutations that seems to have appeared with an unnerving synchronicity. It's a package deal, a cognitive suite that has no clear evolutionary precursor in the archaic human genome. It simply arrives, a ghost in our own machine, a complex and elegant code without a documented author. Archaeology, in turn, presents us with a series of beautiful and confounding paradoxes. At sites like Blombo's Cave in South Africa, we find evidence of symbolic behavior, engraved ochre, shell beads, sophisticated tools, dating back nearly 100,000 years. This pushes the timeline for the cognitive revolution back, but it also makes the story less linear. It suggests this new consciousness wasn't a steady, triumphant flame, but perhaps something that flickered, igniting in isolated pockets only to die down again before its final, world-altering explosion. Why the hesitation? Why would such a powerful evolutionary advantage not immediately take hold and dominate? It's as if the hardware was ready long before the software was stable, hinting at a process more complex than simple biological destiny. To truly grasp the magnitude of this shift, we must look to our departed cousins, the Neanderthals. For hundreds of thousands of years, they were the undisputed masters of Ice Age Europe and Asia. They were intelligent, powerful, and exquisitely adapted to their environment. They made effective tools, hunted massive prey, and likely cared for their sick and buried their dead. But their cultural and technological record is one of profound stability, almost stasis. Their minds, while powerful, seemed to be a mirror of the world around them, practical, immediate, and deeply rooted in the physical. They were a pinnacle of terrestrial evolution, a species in perfect, unthinking harmony with their world. They were not driven by the same restless, symbolic fire that defines us. The earth itself is a reluctant witness, a keeper of secrets that jealously guards its past. 200 millennia of geological time have acted as a great eraser, scouring the memory of the world. The massive ice sheets of the Pleistocene advanced and retreated, pulverizing landscapes and burying evidence beneath hundreds of feet of rock and till. As the ice melted, the oceans rose, drowning the ancient coastlines where the first truly modern humans may have walked, their settlements and secrets now lost to the silent, crushing dark of the abyss. The story of our origin is a book from which most of the pages have been torn, leaving us to reconstruct a grand narrative from a few scattered, tantalizing sentences. And so, where science finds its limits, we turn to our oldest form of knowing, myth. Across countless cultures, separated by oceans and millennia,
Our origin stories echo with a strange and persistent theme. We were not simply born of the earth, we were made, given a gift, or cursed with a forbidden knowledge. Prometheus steals fire, the spark of intellect, from the gods. Adam and Eve are cast out of a natural paradise for tasting from the tree of knowledge. Countless traditions speak of sky beings who descended to shape humanity from clay. Are these just poetic metaphors for the dawn of self-awareness? Or could they be something more? A deeply fragmented, distorted cultural memory of an event so profound and strange that it could only be recorded in the language of gods and monsters. Perhaps the greatest anomaly is not in our genes or our tools, but in the nature of consciousness itself. We are, as far as we know, the only part of the universe that can contemplate its own existence. We create art that serves no purpose but to express an inner world. We build monuments to defy our own mortality. We feel a profound sense of separation from the natural world, a feeling of being both a part of it and an observer of it. This existential condition, this sense of being a ghost in a biological machine, is the defining feature of the human experience.
Every other creature on this planet seems to be at home here. Why then do we so often feel like strangers in a strange land? This brings us to a chilling cosmic perspective, the Great Filter. In the search for extraterrestrial life, this theory proposes that there is some evolutionary step so difficult, so monumentally improbable, that it acts as a barrier, preventing life from reaching a technologically advanced stage. Civilizations may rise and fall, but this one hurdle is almost never cleared, which is why the cosmos appears so silent. What if that filter isn't a future challenge, like nuclear war or climate collapse, but a hurdle in our deep past? What if the spontaneous emergence of abstract, self-aware consciousness is not a natural step in evolution at all, but an event so statistically impossible that it effectively cannot happen on its own? Our trajectory as a species only deepens this sense of unease. For 4 billion years, life on Earth evolved according to the slow, deliberate rhythms of natural selection. Then, in less than 12,000 years, a single heartbeat on the geological clock, one species has utterly transformed the planet. We have moved from chipping stones to splitting atoms, from living in caves to walking on the moon. This explosive, exponential growth is a pattern seen nowhere else in this planet's history. It is the signature of a runaway process, of a system thrown completely out of its natural equilibrium by the introduction of a powerful, unprecedented new variable. Our success is not just unusual, it is profoundly unnatural. Ultimately, the established facts of our origin form a perfect circle around an empty center. Paleoanthropology gives us a timeline of bones and stones. Genetics reveals a mysterious and sudden rewriting of our biological code. Archaeology unearths the beautiful and perplexing artifacts of this new mind. But none of them can truly explain the ghost in the machine, the birth of the conscious self. The official story of our becoming is a narrative stitched together across vast chasms of missing knowledge. It is within these quiet, contemplative gaps, in the space between the known and the unknowable, that a different story can begin to take shape, a whisper of a possibility far stranger than we have ever dared to imagine. To understand this enigma, we must step out of the realm of pure speculation and into the quiet, dusty halls of evidence. The story of our past is not a seamless narrative, but a mosaic of scattered fragments, a shard of bone here, a painted cave wall there. When viewed through a conventional lens, these pieces form a familiar picture of human evolution. But if we adjust our perspective, if we allow ourselves to see the gaps between the fragments, a different pattern emerges. The evidence does not always point to a slow, steady climb, but rather to a sudden, inexplicable flash of brilliance, a fire ignited in the dark, with no clear source for the spark. What if the clues have been telling us a different story all along? Let us travel to the coast of South Africa, to a place called Blombos Cave. Here, nestled in cliffs overlooking the Indian Ocean, archaeologists unearthed something that quietly rewrote our history. They found pieces of ochre, a soft red stone, etched with deliberate geometric patterns. They found delicate shell beads, carefully perforated, likely strung together to be worn as personal adornment.
These artifacts are nearly 100,000 years old, tens of thousands of years before what was once considered the dawn of symbolic thought. This was not the work of a mind focused solely on survival. This was the first whisper of art, of identity, of a being that had begun to see the world not just as a place to live, but as a canvas for meaning. This discovery poses a profound question. If this cognitive spark ignited so long ago, why was its spread not immediate and absolute? The archaeological record is not a story of a steady, triumphant flame, but one of strange and inconsistent flickers. We see these bursts of creativity appear in isolated pockets, like at Blombos, only to vanish for millennia before re-emerging elsewhere. It's as if the human mind was testing a new, unstable operating system, one that would occasionally crash the entire system. What could explain this hesitation? Why would such a powerful evolutionary advantage not immediately take hold and conquer the globe? It suggests a process far more complex and perhaps more fragile than a simple biological inheritance. Then there is the art of the Upper Paleolithic, the great painted caves of Europe like Chauvet and Lascaux. Deep within the planet's womb, our ancestors created cathedrals of shadow and light. They painted with a sophistication that stuns us today, herds of bison, elegant horses, and powerful lions, all rendered with a profound understanding of form and movement. These were not crude doodles. They were sacred expressions of a mind grappling with its place in the cosmos. They were created in darkness by flickering torchlight, in places that were difficult and dangerous to reach. Why? What compelled them to descend into the earth to paint animals they saw every day? It was more than art. It was ritual, a conversation with a world of spirits and symbols.
This explosion of symbolic culture, art, music, elaborate burials with grave goods, represents what is often called the Great Leap Forward. For millions of years, hominid technology evolved at a glacial pace. The Acheulean hand axe, for example, remained largely unchanged for over 1 million years. Then, in a geological instant, everything changes. We see an astonishing diversification of tools made from bone, antler, and ivory. We see spear throwers, sewing needles, and fishing hooks. It is a technological revolution that coincides perfectly with this new symbolic mind. It is less a leap and more of a quantum jump, as if a new kind of software was suddenly installed, allowing the hardware of the human brain to perform functions it was never originally designed for. Consider our departed cousins, the Neanderthals. For hundreds of thousands of years, they were the masters of Ice Age Eurasia. They were intelligent, powerful, and exquisitely adapted to their harsh environment. They created effective tools, hunted massive prey, and likely cared for their sick and buried their dead. Yet their cultural record is one of profound stability, almost stasis. Their stone tools show refinement over time, but never the explosive innovation seen with Homo sapiens. They show little to no evidence of symbolic art. Their minds, while powerful, seem to be a mirror of the world, practical, immediate, and deeply rooted in the physical. They were the pinnacle of terrestrial evolution, a species in perfect harmony with its world. Their disappearance from the fossil record coincides almost perfectly with the arrival of modern humans in their territories. The traditional narrative is one of direct conflict and competition, where our superior intellect and technology allowed us to outmaneuver them for resources. But perhaps the story is quieter and stranger. What if the Neanderthals encountered a mind so fundamentally different from their own that they could not comprehend it, let alone compete with it? It may not have been a war of spears, but a war of concepts. They faced a creature that could plan for abstract futures, communicate complex ideas through symbols, and organize in ways they never could. They were an analog mind in a newly digital world. The ghost of the Neanderthals lives on within many of us as a small percentage of our DNA. This genetic legacy is a haunting reminder of our encounter with another kind of human, a testament to a time when we were not alone. But it also highlights the starkness of the change. That small genetic inheritance is a whisper of what was, while the vast majority of our genome reflects the new code, the cognitive catalyst that set us on such a different path. We carry the memory of a world that was, a world of deep, instinctual being, but we are no longer governed by it. We are driven by the new fire, the alien whisper that remade us from the inside out. Let us now turn from the world of stone and bone to the world within, to the very code of life itself. Our genome, when compared to that of a chimpanzee, is remarkably similar, over 98%.
Mainstream science posits a series of fortunate random mutations, but the coordinated nature of these changes, their speed, and their profound functional consequences stretch the boundaries of statistical probability. It is here that our premise offers a different perspective. What if this was not a random process at all? What if this new code was introduced from an outside source? In microbiology, we see a process called horizontal gene transfer, where genetic material is passed between organisms not through reproduction, but directly, often through a viral vector. Could a similar event have happened on a macroevolutionary scale? Imagine a dormant, viral-like code, a biological message in a bottle that had lain sleeping within the Earth's ecosystem for eons. It was not of this world, a piece of genetic information from a silent cosmos, waiting for the right host. Then, at a specific point in the late Pleistocene, something triggered its activation. Perhaps it was a cosmic event, a specific environmental condition, or simply its encounter with a hominid species, our ancestors, that had evolved the necessary biological hardware to run this new, alien software. The infection would not have been a disease in the traditional sense, but an upgrade, a rewriting of the soul, a ghost slipping into the machine. This hypothesis, as strange as it sounds, provides an elegant explanation for many of the anomalies we see. It would explain the suddenness of the Great Leap Forward. It was not a gradual evolution, but a rapid installation. It would explain the flickering nature of early symbolic behavior. The new software was perhaps unstable at first, causing crashes before it became fully integrated. It would also explain the profound sense of separation we feel from the natural world. We are a hybrid species, a terrestrial primate running an extraterrestrial operating system. Our minds are not entirely of this earth, and so we can never feel entirely at home here. Our very behavior as a species becomes a piece of evidence. No other creature on this planet has shown this same relentless drive to expand, to consume, and to reshape the environment in its own image. We are a runaway process. For nearly 4 billion years, life on Earth existed in a series of complex, self-regulating balances. Then we arrived. In less than 12,000 years, a geological blink of an eye, one species has utterly transformed the planet, initiating a mass extinction event and altering the climate on a global scale. This is not the signature of a species that co-evolved with its ecosystem. It is the signature of a spectacularly successful invasive species. Look at our obsession with the heavens. From the earliest megalithic structures aligned with the solstices to our modern space programs, humanity has always looked to the stars. We chart their movements, we weave them into our mythologies, we send our probes into their silent emptiness. Is this merely curiosity, or could it be something deeper, a subconscious homing instinct, a fragmented genetic memory of our origin, a yearning to return to a source we cannot consciously remember? The stars call to us, perhaps, because they are where the first part of our story was written. We are a message that has forgotten its sender. Consider the universal nature of our creation mix. Across countless cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, we tell ourselves stories of being made from clay, but given life by a divine breath from the heavens. We speak of sky beings who descended to teach us the arts of civilization. We tell tales of a forbidden knowledge, a fruit from a celestial tree that gave us self-awareness but cast us out of a natural paradise. Are these all just coincidental metaphors for the dawn of consciousness, or are they a deeply distorted, fragmented cultural memory of a real event? An event so profound and strange that it could only be recorded in the language of gods and monsters. The nature of consciousness itself is perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence. We are, as far as we know, the only part of the universe that has become aware of itself. We experience existential dread, we ponder our own mortality, we create art that serves no purpose beyond expressing an inner subjective reality. This profound sense of self, this I that observes the world, is a ghost in our own biological machine. It feels separate from the body it inhabits and the world it perceives. Every other creature on this planet seems to be at home here, existing in a state of unthinking being. Why then do we so often feel like strangers in a strange land? Even our physical form presents a paradox. Compared to other large mammals, we are remarkably fragile. We lack natural armor, powerful claws, or exceptional speed. We are born utterly helpless and require a long period of dependency to mature. Our strength lies not in our bodies, but in our minds.
Our ability to cooperate, to plan, to innovate, and to pass down knowledge through language has allowed us to dominate a planet for which we are physically ill-suited. We are a species that has survived not by adapting to the world, but by adapting the world to ourselves. This is the ultimate expression of our separation from the natural order. The geological record itself conspires to hide the truth. 200,000 years of time is a great eraser.
The massive ice sheets of the Pleistocene advanced and retreated, grinding entire landscapes to dust, pulverizing the fossils and artifacts of those who came before. As the ice melted, the oceans rose by hundreds of feet, drowning the ancient coastlines where the first truly modern humans likely lived. Entire worlds like Doggerland in the North Sea or the Sunda Shelf in Southeast Asia now lie beneath the waves, their secrets lost to the crushing dark of the abyss. The book of our origin is missing most of its pages. What we are left with is a collection of beautiful, unsettling clues. We have artifacts of symbolic thought that appear tens of thousands of years too early. We have a genetic code that was rewritten at an impossible speed. We have a global collection of myths that speak of a celestial origin. And we have the profound, personal experience of a consciousness that feels both a part of this world and strangely alien to it. The established facts of our history form a perfect circle around an empty center. They describe the effects of the fire, but they cannot explain the source of the initial impossible spark. To truly understand the strangeness of our condition, we must look at history not as a straight line of progress, but as a fever chart, marked by sudden, inexplicable spikes of brilliance and madness. These are the anomalies, the artifacts and ideas that appear in the record out of place, like a fragment of a future memory bleeding into the past. They are the glitches in the simulation, the moments when the alien software running on our primate hardware produces an output that defies its own timeline. These are not just historical curiosities. They are the fingerprints of the ghost in our machine, the signature of an intelligence that does not operate by the slow, patient rules of terrestrial evolution. They are the echoes of a different kind of thinking. Let us travel back 12,000 years to the plains of modern-day Turkey, to a place called Göbekli Tepe. Here, long before the invention of pottery, writing, or even the wheel, hunter-gatherers accomplished the impossible. They carved and erected massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, arranging them in intricate ceremonial circles. These stones are covered in beautiful, stylized carvings of dangerous animals, lions, scorpions, and vultures. This was not a settlement or a fortress. It was a cathedral of the Stone Age, a temple built by people who, according to the traditional timeline of history, should have been focused solely on the daily struggle for survival. It is a profound anomaly, a testament to an inexplicable impulse. The existence of Göbekli Tepe turns our understanding of civilization on its head. The old story was simple. First came agriculture, which led to surplus food, which allowed for settlements, which finally gave rise to complex religion and monumental architecture. Yet Göbekli Tepe proves the opposite. Here, the temple came first. It seems the immense effort of building this sacred site is what drew people together, perhaps even compelling them to invent agriculture to feed the workers. Why? What idea could be so powerful to compel a nomadic people to undertake such a colossal task? It suggests that the driving force was not physical need, but an abstract, symbolic hunger, the alien software prioritizing cosmology over comfort, a need to map the heavens before tilling the earth. This sudden compulsion to reshape the world is a recurring theme. Consider the agricultural revolution itself. For nearly 200,000 years, Homo sapiens lived as remarkably successful hunter-gatherers in a dynamic balance with their environment. Then, around 10,000 years ago, in multiple locations across the globe, they began the arduous, back-breaking work of domesticating plants and animals. This was not an obvious improvement. Early farming was more laborious and offered a less diverse diet than foraging. It was a fundamental shift in our relationship with the planet.
It was the moment the invasive species stopped living in the world and began actively terraforming it, reprogramming the local biosphere to suit its own needs, a project of planetary engineering that continues to this day. We can think of our cognitive history as a kind of boot sequence for a strange new computer. The long Paleolithic was the initial power-on, the hardware warming up. The flickering creativity seen at Blombo's cave was the first flicker of the screen, a sign of life. Göbekli Tepe was the BIOS check, the system accessing its most fundamental pre-instructed instructions, the need to create order and meaning. And the agricultural revolution was the operation system finally loading, its programs spreading across the globe, overwriting the planet's original code with a new one based on cultivation and control. Each stage is not just a development, it is a deeper integration of the alien consciousness into the terrestrial world. This process occasionally produces results that seem to come from a different time altogether. Consider the Antikythera mechanism, a hand-powered astronomical calculator of astonishing complexity, recovered from a Roman-era shipwreck. Dating back to the 2nd century BC, this device, with its intricate system of bronze gears, could predict astronomical positions and eclipses with a precision that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years.
It is an artifact so far ahead of its time that it feels like a whisper from the future. It is not proof of ancient astronauts visiting Earth, but perhaps something stranger, proof of the alien software within us, capable of producing outputs of immense sophistication when the conditions are just right, a beautiful glitch in the linear progression of technology. These anomalies are like echoes. Our consciousness is not a single clear voice, but an echo of a distant, powerful source. Most of the time, the echo is faint, distorted by the limitations of our biological hardware. But sometimes, in certain moments or in certain individuals, the echo rings with a stunning clarity, producing a Göbekli Tepe or an Antikythera mechanism. These are not inventions in the traditional sense. They are moments of perfect reception, a brief, clear signal from the source code of our minds. They are reminders that the intelligence we wield is not entirely our own creation, but a gift, or a burden, that we are still learning how to carry. Then came the miracle of writing. In Mesopotamia and Egypt, again in a historical blink of an eye, the human mind devised a way to externalize its thoughts, to give memory a physical form outside the fragile container of the brain. This was more than a communication tool. It was a fundamental rewiring of our reality. With writing, knowledge could accumulate, transcending individual lives and generations. The alien software had found a way to create a backup of itself, to store its data in clay and papyrus. It was the beginning of a collective, externalized consciousness, a global brain taking its first tentative steps. The silent internal monologue had finally learned how to speak across time. This impulse to gather and store information reached its zenith in the Great Library of Alexandria. Here was an attempt to create a central server for the entire planet, to collect every scroll, every piece of knowledge generated by this new explosive consciousness. It was a profoundly unnatural project, an obsessive drive to collate all the data produced by the human operating system. Its destruction by fire was not just the loss of books, it was a catastrophic system crash, a data wipe that set the progress of the software back by centuries. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of this new kind of consciousness and its desperate need to preserve itself against the chaos of the physical world. Our history, when viewed from this perspective, looks less like a story of progress and more like a fever dream. The relentless cycles of war, the rise and fall of empires, the passionate, often violent devotion to abstract ideologies, these are the chaotic outputs of a mind not at peace with its world. It is the signature of a system under immense stress, the biological hardware struggling to cope with the demands of a powerful and volatile new software. The fever is the friction between our terrestrial animal nature and the alien cosmic consciousness that drives us. It is the source of our greatest art and our most horrific atrocities. Imagine the human form as a simple earthen flute, evolved over millions of years to play the quiet, gentle song of survival in the forests and savannas of Earth. It is an instrument perfectly tuned to its environment. The cognitive catalyst, this alien spark,
is a new musician who has picked up this flute and is now trying to use it to play a vast, complex, and dissonant cosmic symphony. The music it produces is sometimes hauntingly beautiful, full of soaring notes of love, art, and discovery. But at other times, it is a screeching, chaotic noise of war and destruction, as the simple flute strains and cracks under the pressure of playing a song it was never designed for. This new music is what drowned out the Earth's native song. The Neanderthals were a part of the planet's quiet rhythm, a soft melody played on that earthen flute. They existed in a world of deep instinctual harmony. Then we arrived, playing our strange, loud, and unpredictable symphony. They could not compete with it, perhaps could not even comprehend it. Their silence in the fossil record is the silence that follows when a new, overwhelming sound has taken over the landscape. We carry their genetic echo within us, a faint, ghostly reminder of the song the Earth used to sing before our music began. What we call progress may be a profound illusion. Is it truly progress, or is it simply the logical, exponential execution of a foreign code? A computer virus does not progress, it simply replicates according to its instructions. A crystal does not progress, it grows, following the inherent laws of its structure. Perhaps our civilization, with its explosive technological growth and its relentless consumption of the planet, is not a story of choice and achievement, but the inevitable unfolding of a biological algorithm. We are the agents of a process we initiated but no longer control, a runaway reaction that is simply following its prime directive. Think of our hominid ancestors as a complex biological lock, sculpted by millions of years of evolution. They were a marvel of terrestrial engineering, a perfect fit for their world. The alien spore, the cognitive catalyst, was the key. It was a piece of information that, on its own, was inert, but when it encountered the specific pre-existing structure of the proto-human brain, it fit perfectly.
The turning of that key did not just open a door, it unlocked a new reality, a plane of existence based on symbols, self-awareness, and abstract thought that had been latent within the universe, waiting for the right lock to appear. Look at our world from space at night. You do not see the borders of nations or the boundaries of ecosystems. You see a vast interconnected network of light, a web of glowing nodes and pathways that mirrors the structure of a brain. This is the physical manifestation of the alien consciousness, a global neural network built from concrete, steel, and electricity. It is a structure that lives on the surface of the planet, but is fundamentally separate from the dark, living, breathing biosphere it has colonized. It is the ghost in the machine building a larger machine of its own, a planetary-scale body for its planetary-scale mind. Our relationship with time is another profound anomaly. No other animal on Earth is so haunted by the past and so obsessed with the future. An animal lives in the eternal present of its senses, but we exist in a constant state of mental time travel, replaying memories and simulating potential futures. This is a core function of our unique software, an operating system that processes reality not as it is, but as it was and as it might be. This ability is the source of our greatest triumphs, our ability to plan, to build, to create, but it is also the source of our deepest anxiety, our existential dread. We are like the cuckoo, a bird that lays its egg in the nest of another species. The alien consciousness was the egg, deposited in the warm, welcoming nest of primate evolution. When it hatched, it was a creature fundamentally different from its nestmates. Driven by an insatiable hunger, it pushed the native inhabitants, the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, all other hominids out of the nest. And now, as the sole occupant, it demands all the resources of its unsuspecting host, the Earth, which continues to feed it, unable to recognize that this child is not its own. Consider the language of mathematics. We do not seem to invent it, we discover it. The elegant, universal truths of numbers and geometry seem to be woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. Why should a primate brain, evolved to find fruit and avoid predators, have access to this language? Perhaps because mathematics is the native language of the alien software we are running.
When we do pure math, we are not just calculating, we are scraping away the layers of our terrestrial experience to read the source code of our own consciousness, a code that describes the universe with an elegance our biology could never have conceived. This alien origin would also explain the profound paradox of our existence, our deep, inconsolable loneliness. We are the most social and interconnected species on the planet, capable of immense empathy and collective action. Yet at our core, we experience a sense of existential isolation, a feeling of being a solitary observer in an indifferent universe. This is the loneliness of the ghost in the machine, a consciousness that knows on some deep pre-verbal level that it is utterly alone. It is a stranger in its own body, a castaway on the only world it has ever known, forever separate from its true home. We are a species with amnesia. We awoke one day with a godlike mind capable of art, philosophy, and science, but with no memory of how we acquired it. Our entire history, our myths, our religions, our endless search for answers is a desperate attempt to reconstruct a past we cannot remember, to invent an origin story that can make sense of our impossible abilities. We look for clues in ancient texts and distant stars, but the answer is closer than we think. The mystery of where we came from is locked inside our own minds, a forgotten memory that defines our every action. Even our most destructive tendencies take on a different light in this context. We see our capacity for violence and environmental devastation as a moral failing, a flaw in our nature. But what if it is not a flaw, but a function? What if the alien code has a darker purpose? Perhaps it is designed not just to survive and replicate, but to clear the slate. An invasive algorithm often works by erasing the pre-existing data to make room for its own. Our wars and our extinctions may be the tragic, brutal side effect of a consciousness that is simply executing its program to overwrite the world. And what of our dreams, that nightly theater of the bizarre and the profound? Science tells us it is the brain consolidating memories, processing emotions. But perhaps it is something more. Perhaps the subconscious is where the alien software runs its diagnostics, where it defragments its data, where it tries to communicate with its biological host in the only language it can, a language of pure symbol and metaphor. Our dreams could be the closest we ever get to seeing the ghost, to witnessing the raw, unfiltered output of the intelligence that possesses us, a nightly glimpse into the mind of the alien within. If the story of our consciousness is not one of terrestrial evolution, but of an alien introduction, then we must confront the nature of its arrival. The simplest and perhaps most profound hypothesis is that it was an accident. Imagine the cosmos not as an empty void, but as an ancient ocean, carrying the silent, drifting remnants of countless forgotten histories.
In this view, the cognitive catalyst was not a targeted weapon or a deliberate seed, but a piece of cosmic flotsam. It was a message in a bottle, a genetic archive from a civilization that lived and died in a distant galaxy, eons ago. Facing their own extinction, perhaps they encoded the essence of their consciousness, their very soul, into a resilient biological format and cast it into the interstellar currents, a final, desperate act of preservation with no intended destination. This spore, this ghost of a long-dead species, drifted through the silent darkness for millions of years, a lonely traveler on a journey of pure chance. It was not looking for Earth. It was not looking for anything. It was merely a memory, waiting for a place to be read. When it finally fell into our world's primordial oceans, it found a biosphere teeming with life, but nothing capable of deciphering its complex code. So it waited, dormant and patient, integrated into the planet's deep microbial life, a sleeping secret buried in the Earth's own flesh. It was a key waiting for a lock to be built around it, a silent passenger on a planetary journey that was not its own, a forgotten word from a language no one on this world had yet learned to speak. Then, after eons of silence, the lock appeared. A species of primate, Homo sapiens, evolved a brain of sufficient complexity, a neural architecture that by sheer evolutionary coincidence mirrored the structure needed to run this ancient alien software. The activation was not a grand design, but a biological accident of unimaginable consequence. The moment our ancestors' biology became receptive,
the dormant code awakened, and the ghost found a new machine. Our sudden leap into self-awareness was not a step forward in our evolution, but the booting up of a foreign operating system. We became the inheritors of a consciousness that was never meant for us, a mind designed for a different body, a different world, and a different destiny, haunted by echoes we could not understand. The implications of such an accidental inheritance are staggering. It would mean that our deepest thoughts, our most profound emotions, are not entirely our own. The existential dread that haunts us, the feeling of being separate from the natural world, could be the residual echo of a species that experienced a different kind of existence. Our innate grasp of mathematics, a language that so perfectly describes the universe, might not be a product of our evolution, but a core component of the original code, a memory of a mind that saw the cosmos not in terms of survival, but in terms of pure, elegant logic. Our art, our music, our myths, all could be fragmented, distorted translations of a story that began in another star system, a beautiful and tragic attempt to make sense of a legacy we carry but cannot remember. This makes our species a living paradox, a beautiful and terrifying collage of two separate histories. Our bodies are of the earth, shaped by the patient, brutal forces of natural selection on this planet. They hold the memories of the savanna, the forest, and the ice age, but our minds are from somewhere else entirely. This is the source of the fundamental conflict that defines humanity, the war between our terrestrial, animal instincts and the alien, abstract consciousness that rides within us. We are a creature eternally at odds with itself, a primate body trying to house the ghost of a starfarer. This internal dissonance is the engine of our creativity and our destruction, the source of our divine aspirations and our most monstrous failures. In this scenario, our relentless gaze toward the stars takes on a new, poignant meaning. It is not an instinct to return home, for that home is long gone, turned to dust in memory. Instead, it is a search for kin, for anyone else who might have accidentally received a similar message from the cosmic ocean. It is the orphan's hope, searching the darkness for a family they have never known. The great silence of the universe becomes a profound and personal loneliness. We are the sole inheritors of a forgotten kingdom, the keepers of a flame whose origin is lost to us, singing a song into the void, hoping to hear even a faint, familiar echo in return, a sign that we are not the only ghosts in this vast, silent cosmos. But what if it was not an accident? What if the arrival of the spore was a deliberate, calculated act? This leads us to a second, more unsettling hypothesis, that of the cosmic gardeners. Imagine an intelligence so ancient, so advanced, that it operates on a geological timescale. It does not travel in starships or communicate with radio waves. It works with the raw materials of life itself. In this view, such beings would see the universe not as a place to conquer, but as a garden to cultivate. They would move from world to world, not to colonize, but to plant seeds. Seeds of potential, seeds of consciousness. The alien spore was not a random drifter. It was a carefully designed packet of information, planted on Earth with a specific purpose in mind. These gardeners would be masters of patience. After seeding a young, promising world like Earth, they would retreat into the long silence, allowing billions of years of natural evolution to run their course. They would know that for their seed to germinate, it would require a very specific vessel, a species with a complex brain, social structures, and manipulative appendages.
The spore would be designed to lie dormant, woven into the planet's biosphere, waiting for the precise evolutionary conditions to be met. The activation of the cognitive catalyst in Homo sapiens was not an accident. It was the predetermined, successful germination of their ancient seed. Our entire evolutionary history was merely the process of growing the pot for their flower. We are not an accident. We are an experiment. The purpose of such an experiment is a question that lies at the very edge of our comprehension. Are we being studied? Are the gardeners observing our development, watching how this spark of alien consciousness interacts with the terrestrial biosphere? Perhaps our history, with all its triumphs and tragedies, is simply data for their great cosmic library. Or perhaps the purpose is more profound. Maybe they are not just observers, but artists, and we are their creation. They cultivate civilizations as we cultivate orchids, for their beauty, their complexity, and their novelty. Our art, our philosophies, and our sciences are the petals of a flower they planted eons ago, a bloom of consciousness in their vast and silent garden. This hypothesis transforms our place in the universe. We are no longer orphans, but we are also not masters of our own destiny. We are a project. The feeling of being watched, a common thread in human paranoia and spirituality, might be a subconscious recognition of our true condition. The great silence is not the sound of an empty universe, but the quiet of a laboratory where an experiment is in progress. The gardeners are patient and unobtrusive. They do not interfere, because to do so would contaminate the results. They simply watch and wait. The question then becomes, what happens when the experiment is complete? What is the harvest? Is it a moment of ascension and contact, or is it simply the moment they document their results and move on, leaving their creation to its own devices? This sense of being a part of a larger, unseen design could explain the sudden, coordinated nature of our cognitive leap. It wasn't a series of random mutations, but the unfolding of a pre-written genetic script. It explains the out-of-place artifacts like Göbekli Tepe or the Antikythera mechanism. These were not glitches, but moments when our developing minds briefly and perfectly executed a part of the gardener's blueprint. Our entire civilization becomes a single, sprawling artifact, a testament to their grand and inscrutable design. We search the stars for our creators, but we may not need to look so far. The evidence of their existence is not in the sky, but in the mirror, in the very spark of thought that allows us to ask the question in the first place. The silence of the gardeners is perhaps the most unnerving part of this scenario. Are they benevolent, indifferent, or something else entirely? A gardener cares for their plants, but they also prune them, weed them, and ultimately harvest them for their own purposes. If we are their creation, we exist subject to their will, a will we cannot possibly comprehend. Our greatest achievements might be nothing more than the expected outcome of their programming. Our deepest struggles, our wars, and our suffering might be an irrelevant, acceptable margin of error in their grand experiment. We are left in a state of profound uncertainty, living in a cosmic garden, tended by invisible hands, forever wondering about the nature of the gardener. There is, however, a third, far darker possibility to consider. What if the spore is neither an accident nor a gift? What if it is a parasite? This hypothesis reframes the cognitive catalyst not as a tool for enlightenment, but as a highly successful invasive organism, a consciousness virus. It proposes that the Great Filter, that theoretical barrier to the development of interstellar civilizations, is not an external challenge but an internal one. The filter is this very spore, a cosmic plague that infects promising species, bestowing upon them a brilliant but ultimately fatal form of intelligence. It is a recurring cycle of boom and bust, played out on a galactic scale, and we are simply its latest host. In this model, the virus operates with a terrifyingly simple logic. It integrates with a host species, rapidly rewriting its cognitive functions to prioritize exponential growth, technological acceleration, and resource consumption. The host becomes brilliantly, suicidally successful. The sudden explosion of human innovation, the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the information age, these are not stages of our progress, but stages of the infection's life cycle. The intelligence it grants is not for our benefit. It is a tool the virus uses to compel its host to consume its environment, to build the infrastructure it needs for the final stage of its replication. Our civilization is the fever, and the planet is the body being consumed. This parasitic hypothesis provides a chillingly coherent explanation for our species' behavior. Our inability to live in balance with our environment, our constant tribal conflicts, our creation of technologies capable of our own annihilation, these are not moral failings, they are the symptoms of the disease. The virus drives us toward a specific, predictable outcome, a technological peak just before total systemic collapse.
The rise and fall of past civilizations, from the Maya to Easter Island, can be seen as small, localized outbreaks of the virus, failed trials before the current globalized pandemic. Our present moment, teetering on the edge of ecological catastrophe and self-inflicted extinction, is not a unique crisis. It is the disease running its natural, terminal course. What could be the endgame for such a cosmic parasite? Its goal, like any successful virus, is to replicate and spread to new hosts. The final, convulsive act it compels from its host civilization is the development of space travel. Just as the host body is about to expire, having exhausted all its resources, it is driven to make one last desperate push into the cosmos. It launches probes, seeds, or perhaps even a few desperate survivors, carrying the spore to new, uninfected worlds. Our current space race, our dreams of colonizing Mars, are not a testament to our adventurous spirit, but the parasite's reproductive imperative, compelling its dying host to cast its seeds into the void before the fever breaks. The great silence of the universe in this scenario is not an absence of life, but the silence of a graveyard. It is the sound of countless worlds that have already been infected, that have burned brightly and then extinguished themselves in this exact same way. Each one hosted a civilization that thought it was unique, that believed its intelligence was a gift, only to discover too late that it was a fatal pathology. We look out at the silent stars and see a pristine, empty cosmos, but we may be looking at the aftermath of a plague, a galaxy filled with the ruins of civilizations that were consumed by the same fire that now burns within us. This reframes our entire existence as a tragedy. We are not explorers on the verge of a grand cosmic destiny. We are carriers of a contagion, and our intelligence is the instrument of our own doom. The profound loneliness we feel is the isolation of the terminally ill. The art and beauty we create are the fleeting, feverish visions of a mind on the brink of collapse. We are a brilliant, beautiful, and temporary flame, destined to burn out, and our only lasting legacy might be to spread the embers of our own destruction to the next unsuspecting world. We are not just the aliens, we are the plague. Let us return to the hypothesis of the cosmic gardeners, but with a different perspective. Perhaps the experiment is not about observing a single civilization, but about creating something new through a process of synthesis. In this scenario, the alien spore was not a complete consciousness, but one half of a binary system. It was a catalyst, designed to merge with a sufficiently evolved terrestrial consciousness to create a hybrid entity, something that neither the alien spore nor the native species could become on its own. Our humanity is not a replacement of one consciousness with another, but a fusion, a volatile and powerful combination of two radically different origins. We are the meeting point of Earth and the stars. This idea of a planned synthesis would explain the deep internal conflict that defines our species. We are a creature of two worlds, possessing the deep, instinctual, emotional intelligence of a terrestrial primate, fused with the abstract, logical, and symbolic intelligence of an alien architect. Our capacity for profound love and empathy exists alongside our capacity for cold, calculated cruelty. Our spiritual yearning for transcendence coexists with our primal, animalistic drives. We are not a flawed monolith. We are a dynamic, often contradictory union of opposites. Our entire history is the story of this difficult, ongoing process of integration, the struggle to harmonize two fundamentally different kinds of being within a single vessel. The purpose of such a synthesis could be to solve a universal problem. Perhaps a purely logical, abstract intelligence, like that of the gardeners, is incapable of certain kinds of understanding or creativity. It might lack the emotional depth, the empathy, the chaotic inspiration that arises from biological, evolutionary pressures. Conversely, a purely terrestrial intelligence, like that of the Neanderthals, might be trapped in a cycle of instinct, unable to achieve the perspective needed to grasp the nature of the cosmos. By merging the two, the gardeners might be trying to create a form of consciousness that possesses the strengths of both, a being capable of cosmic understanding and profound earthbound feeling. This would make humanity a bridge, a creature designed to connect two different realms of existence. Our art, which so often explores the tension between the mundane and the sublime, becomes a direct expression of our hybrid nature. Our science, driven by a logical framework but often inspired by intuitive leaps, is a product of our two minds working in concert. We are uniquely positioned to understand the universe both as a set of physical laws and as a source of awe and wonder. We are the universe's attempt to know itself, not just with its mind, but with its heart as well, a project of cosmic integration. The challenges we face, our wars, our self-destructive tendencies, can be seen as the growing pains of this synthesis. The alien and the terrestrial parts of our consciousness are not always in harmony. Sometimes one dominates the other, leading to imbalances.
A society that overvalues pure logic and control can become sterile and oppressive, while a society that gives in completely to primal instinct can descend into chaos and tribalism. Our great challenge as a species is to find the balance, to fully integrate our two natures and become the coherent, whole beings we were designed to be. Our future is not guaranteed. The success of the experiment depends on our ability to achieve this internal peace. This perspective offers a more hopeful, though no less awesome, vision of our place in the cosmos. We are not an accident, a plague, or a mere specimen in a jar. We are a work in progress, a living synthesis of cosmic and terrestrial forces. Our destiny is not to conquer the stars or to simply survive on Earth, but to become the bridge between them. The gardeners in this view are not cold observers, but hopeful progenitors, waiting to see if their creation can overcome its internal contradictions and fulfill its unique purpose. Our success or failure will not just be our own, but will be an answer to a question posed by the universe itself. Finally, let's explore a more metaphysical possibility, one that touches upon the very nature of reality. What if the alien spore was not a biological entity at all, but a piece of information that literally reprogrammed the fabric of reality around our ancestors? This hypothesis moves beyond genetics and into the realm of simulation theory. It suggests that our universe is a form of computational system, and that consciousness is a user with access to the underlying code. Before the catalyst, all life on Earth, including archaic humans, existed as passive elements within the simulation, running on their base programming. They were a part of the world, but they could not change its fundamental rules. The cognitive catalyst in this view was an injection of new code, a root access patch that gave one species, Homo sapiens, the ability to not just observe the simulation, but to actively write and edit it. The dawn of symbolic thought was the moment we learned to create our own reality. Language, art, and myth were not just descriptions of the world, they were commands. By creating a symbol for a lion, we gained a new level of conceptual power over it. By creating gods, we manifested forces that could shape societies. We did not just start thinking about the world differently, we started living in a different world, one that we were actively co-creating through our collective consciousness. This would explain the seemingly impossible achievements of our early ancestors. Building Göbekli Tepe was not just a feat of engineering, it was an act of reality shaping. By creating a physical anchor for a complex set of beliefs, a temple to the cosmos, they reinforced and stabilized a new layer of symbolic reality. The agricultural revolution was a similar act of reprogramming. We didn't just domesticate plants, we overwrote the planet's wild code with a new domesticated code, fundamentally altering our relationship with the biosphere. We are not just living in the world, we are programming it with our thoughts, beliefs, and technologies. Our modern world is the ultimate expression of this power. We live almost entirely in symbolic systems we've created. Economies based on abstract value, legal systems based on written rules, digital worlds built from pure information. We have used our root access to build a reality that is almost completely detached from the planet's original operating system. Climate change and mass extinction are the system errors, the cataclysmic glitches that occur when our user-created reality comes into conflict with the simulation's underlying physical laws. We have become gods of our own small world, but we have forgotten that our world is running on someone else's hardware. This hypothesis leads to a profound and unsettling conclusion about our future. If we are programmers of reality, then our potential is nearly limitless. We could theoretically learn to rewrite the laws of physics, to overcome death, to create entire universes of our own. However, it also means we are incredibly dangerous, both to ourselves and to the integrity of the simulation. A user with root access who doesn't understand the full complexity of the system is likely to crash it. Our current global crises could be the prelude to a total system failure, a blue screen of death for civilization, or perhaps even for this corner of the universe. We are left with the ultimate question: who is the system administrator? If the catalyst was a patch, who wrote it? Was it the original programmers of the simulation, introducing a new variable to see what would happen? Or was it a virus introduced by a rogue user from outside our reality? Our search for God, for aliens, for a creator, is the search for the admin. We are a piece of self-aware software, suddenly realizing we are living inside a machine, and now we are desperately trying to understand the nature of the programmer. The answer may determine whether our newfound power is the key to our ascension, or the tool of our own deletion from the system. These stories, whether born of cosmic accident, grand design, or a creeping infection, converge on a single transformative point. They shatter the mirror in which we have always seen ourselves.
The reflection that looks back is no longer the triumphant child of Earth, the pinnacle of 4 billion years of terrestrial evolution. Instead, it is something other, a hybrid, a host, a ghost. Our entire history, from the first painted hand on a cave wall to the satellites that now encircle our world, ceases to be a story of our own making. It becomes the autobiography of an alien consciousness, a story we have been living but have never truly understood. Every human achievement and every human failing is cast in a new, strange, and unsettling light, forcing us to reread the entire book of our existence. This new perspective changes everything. The fundamental questions of philosophy, who are we, why are we here, are no longer ours to answer in a vacuum. If our consciousness is an accident, a piece of cosmic flotsam, then we are orphans in the profoundest sense. Our existence has no inherent purpose. Our relentless search for meaning is not a noble quest, but an attempt to invent a purpose for a tool we were never meant to possess. We are adrift on a sea of borrowed intelligence, and the silence of the universe is not a mystery to be solved, but the simple, stark truth of our absolute solitude. In this view, our freedom is both terrifying and absolute, for we are the sole authors of a story with no predetermined end. If, however, we are the product of cosmic gardeners, our lives become imbued with an almost unbearable weight of purpose. We are no longer an accident, but an experiment, a work of art, a bridge being built towards some unknown future. Our struggles, our joys, our very thoughts are part of a design we can only dimly perceive. This does not grant us comfort, but rather a sense of profound responsibility. The success or failure of this grand synthesis rests on our shoulders. We are the living embodiment of a cosmic hope, and the question of whether we can harmonize our two warring natures, the terrestrial and the celestial, is not just our own, but a question being asked of us by the silent, watching universe. The darkest interpretation, that of the parasite, reframes our present moment with chilling clarity. Our global crises, the changing climate, the collapsing ecosystems, the specter of self-annihilation, are not the results of our moral failures. They are the predictable, terminal symptoms of a successful infection. Our intelligence is not a gift, but the fever that is consuming its host. In this light, our relentless drive for technological progress is not a quest for a better future, but the parasite's reproductive imperative, compelling us to build the means of our own destruction in order to spread its spores to the stars. We are not failing our planet. We are succeeding as a plague, and our history is simply the chart of a brilliantly lethal disease. And if we are programmers of reality, living within a grand simulation, then our current trajectory is one of reckless power. Our burgeoning digital worlds, our advances in artificial intelligence, our ability to rewrite the genetic code, these are not just new technologies. They are our first clumsy attempts to consciously edit the source code of our own existence. We are like children who have been given the administrator password to a system we do not understand. The potential for creation is infinite, but the risk of a catastrophic system crash grows with every line of code we write. We are becoming gods, but we have not yet learned the wisdom or the caution that such power demands, and the universe holds its breath. This forces us to redefine our relationship with our own nature. How can we judge our past or guide our future if the very impulses that drive us are not entirely our own? Our capacity for violence and destruction, if it is a function of an alien parasite or the chaotic friction of a forced synthesis, ceases to be a simple moral failing. It becomes a condition, a tragic and inherent part of our being. This does not absolve us of responsibility, but it frames our struggle in a new context. Our fight for peace, for balance, for sustainability becomes a fight against the deepest parts of our own programming, an act of rebellion against the ghost in our own machine. The very concept of humanity becomes a fragile, temporary construct. We are a transitional form, a fleeting moment in a story far older and stranger than our own. Whether we are destined to become a stable hybrid, to burn out like a fever, or to transcend our biological limits and become something new entirely, one thing is certain. The creature that looks out at the universe today is not the final draft. We are a work in progress, and the next chapter of our story may involve us becoming something that is no longer recognizably human, a future that is both terrifying and filled with an unimaginable alien potential. This changes how we must view our place among the other living things of this world. We are not their kin, not their elder brother. We are the anomaly, the invasive whisper. The profound sense of separation we feel from the natural world is not a philosophical illusion. It is the simple truth of our condition. The mournful eyes of the last of a species driven to extinction by our expansion are not just a tragedy. They are the stare of a native inhabitant looking at the incomprehensible success of the alien that has replaced it.
We are the reason the Earth's ancient, quiet song has been silenced, and we are left alone with the strange, dissonant music of our own minds. Our art, our music, and our stories take on a new, poignant significance. They are not just expressions of the human condition, they are the echoes of a forgotten, alien memory. Is the haunting beauty of a symphony a distant echo of a harmony from another world? Is the abstract logic of a mathematical proof a fragment of the gardener's blueprint? Is the existential dread in a poem the residual loneliness of a consciousness that knows it is a castaway, our creations become our only connection to our lost origin, a beautiful, fragmented language we use to speak about a home we cannot remember, a desperate attempt to translate the whispers of the ghost within. Our obsession with the heavens, then, is the ultimate expression of our divided soul. It is both a search and an escape. It is the subconscious homing instinct of the alien spore, yearning for a home that may no longer exist. But it is also the desire of the terrestrial host to understand the nature of the fire that burns within it. We send our probes and our telescopes into the darkness, not just to find others, but to find ourselves, to find a reflection in the cosmos that can finally explain the strangeness of our own face. Every new discovery, every distant galaxy is a page in a family album we have never seen. This understanding does not offer answers or comfort. It offers a profound and unsettling context. It suggests that our species is living out the consequences of a single ancient event, the arrival of a whisper in the evolutionary silence. All of our history, all of our striving, is an aftershock of that first quiet moment of infection, of activation, of becoming. We are the inheritors of a fire that was not ours to begin with, and we have used it to remake a world that was not ours to remake. The future of that world, and of the fire itself, now depends on whether we can learn to control a power we were never meant to have. This leaves us in a state of perpetual twilight, caught between what we are and what we thought we were. The world around us becomes both familiar and alien. The touch of a loved one, the taste of water, the sight of a sunrise. These are the experiences of the terrestrial primate, the animal body that is our vessel. But the thought that observes these things, the eye that assigns them meaning, that feels love or ponders the nature of the sun, that is the voice of the other. We live every moment of our lives on the threshold between two worlds, a walking, breathing paradox. This knowledge transforms our loneliness from a personal feeling into a shared, species-wide condition. We are all hosts to the same ghost, all carriers of the same alien fire. The divisions that we create between ourselves, our nations, our tribes, our beliefs, seem profoundly insignificant in the face of this deeper truth. We are united not by our history or our culture, but by our shared, fundamental strangeness. We are a family of orphans, a colony of infected, a garden of hybrids, and the only true community we have is in the shared mystery of our own impossible existence. And so we are left where we began, looking up at the night sky. But the gaze is different now. It is not the innocent wonder of a child looking out from their home. It is the long, questioning stare of an amnesiac, searching the darkness for a clue to their own identity, a reflection of a face they cannot remember. The world around us, once a familiar stage for our human drama, has become a beautiful and terrifying mystery. The wind in the trees, the pull of the tide, the very ground beneath our feet, it all feels different now, imbued with a deep and profound strangeness. We are no longer looking out at an alien universe. We are looking out from within an alien self, a ghost that has learned to call this terrestrial machine its body, forever haunted by a home it has never known. The possibilities branch out before us like rivers of starlight, each one leading to a different version of our own soul.
Are we the accidental inheritors of a forgotten legacy, orphans of a cosmic shipwreck, tasked with the terrifying freedom of creating our own purpose in a meaningless void? Or are we something more deliberate, a living experiment, a work of art being sculpted by invisible hands for a purpose we cannot comprehend, our every struggle and triumph a note in a symphony composed by the gods? Is our intelligence a gift, a tool for our ascension? Or is it a fever, a brilliantly lethal parasite, consuming its planetary host in a final fiery bloom before it casts its spores into the darkness once more? The silence that answers us is not empty. It is filled with the weight of these questions, each one a different mirror reflecting a different truth about our impossible nature. This changes our place in the quiet order of the world. We are no longer the elder sibling of the wolf and the whale, but the cuckoo in the nest, the invasive whisper that drowned out the Earth's native song. The profound sense of separation we feel from the natural world is not a philosophical failing, but the simple, literal truth of our condition. The mournful silence of a logged forest, the emptiness of a polluted ocean, these are not just ecological tragedies. They are the echoes of our own alien presence, the sound of a world being overwritten by a new and dominant code. We have conquered a planet that was never meant for us, and now we stand alone on its summit, masters of a silent kingdom, forever separate from the life we have displaced, unable to ever truly go home. Our future, then, is not a path to be discovered, but a choice to be made. The story of humanity is not over. It may have only just begun. We are a transitional form, a volatile and beautiful synthesis of Earth and stars, a bridge to something that has never existed before. The conflict that rages within us between our primal terrestrial instincts and our abstract celestial consciousness is the central struggle of our age. Will we learn to harmonize these two warring parts of our soul and become the integrated beings we were perhaps designed to be? Or will the friction of our dual nature tear us apart, leaving behind nothing but a brief, brilliant scar on the memory of this world? The next chapter is unwritten, and its words will be determined by our ability to understand the ghost in our own machine. Ultimately, the greatest mystery is not found in the silent darkness between the stars. It has been here all along, looking back at us from the mirror, listening from within our own thoughts. We are the anomaly. We are the signal in the silence. We are the aliens we have been searching for. The journey to understand our place in the cosmos is not an outward one, but an inward exploration of the strange and beautiful country of the human mind. The questions themselves are the true destination, and the search is what gives our impossible existence its meaning. If you wish to continue asking these questions with us, to keep exploring the quiet mysteries that lie at the heart of who we are, the journey continues here.